Okay, I was going to do a tutorial on footsteps. So we'll make it a little more advanced. And by advanced, I'm also going to do something here. This is Aseprite. This is a pixel art thing. And I'm just going to very quickly make a little footstep. Just like that. Something like that anyways. So let's take that, copy, and new 64, 64, paste and flip it. All right. So now actually, you know what? I'm going to copy that. Let's grab this one and stick that one over here as well. Something like that. And we'll save and export, open. All right, now if I open that up, where did I just put that? So that was saved as foot. There it is. Drag it in there. So now we have multiple editor, slice it by cell size. There we go. All right, so we're going to do numerous things here. We have a terrain. Okay. Well, let's create a little folder. And I'm going to create a plane. Scale him down. Let's go over and make a material. And we need to bring in where did I just stick that? Yeah, let's stick that on our footsteps so we don't lose it, because that would be bad. All right. So here we have. What am I doing here? Why is that not? Okay, it's bedtime, please. Alright, let's... Obviously, we don't want both footsteps in there. So let's go like that. I wish I would have turned that thing around. No way to rotate that. So, okay, well, it's fine. We can always put it into a child. It's not a big deal. Let's just find some reference of size. Of course, I have grabbed the biggest frickin' guy there is. Alright. So obviously that's pretty big. Let's bring that down. Cut it in half. Turn that off. Okay, that's not bad. Now, these is the wrong way. So I'm actually going to create an empty. Put this in there. Now we can turn this 180. And we can do this as a left foot. And we can duplicate it. Call this one right foot. And we could programmatically change this. Oop. But I'm not going to. Alright, so now we have a right foot, left foot. So, like the other thing that they probably need is these things are, don't want the shadows. Yeah, let's use the cutout. Alright, so now let's stick both of those in here. And actually, you know what would be even better? Right? That would just make this so much easier. If we had this guy over here in the footsteps, other than trying to find offsets with having these things as children, we can just move these, because these things can spawn right in the middle. Perfect. Okay. So the other thing we'll need is we're going to paint a texture. We're going to add a layer. We'll do grass, sure. And add a layer mud. And maybe add one more layer for rock. Alright, so let's, you know, give some more texture happening. There we go. Now we have numerous textures. Now, one thing that makes life easier for these is if you take this grass and for now I'm going to put it into footsteps over here, grab this one. I guess both of those are probably the ones we're using. And that's just going to make it so I know where these things are. And now I can change these, alter the names, just for simplicity's sake. The other thing is, see how the capitalized, capitalized, non-capitalized? Always try to maintain a certain theme with your typing or writing. Okay, so we have let's grab this little guy and let's give him an animator. We'll probably have something set up. Okay, that works. It's not the greatest, but it works. So we're not using a blend tree, we're just using his forward. So that'll work. I'm going to use a character controller just for simplicity's sake. In reality, this part doesn't matter in the ways of what's needed. So we want to get axis vector and let's simple move V. We can store the magnitude and we're going to move speed 3.5, magnitude. Actually, we don't even need that. So if I was using a blend tree, I would just put the magnitude in, and maybe I should just do that. Might be easier. But you don't need to. I mean, I could always run two states. It's not a big deal. Okay, so first we need a parameter. Okay, Jade, you guys need to turn this off now. It's bedtime. And let's not bother using a blend tree, I guess. Let's just change this. Alright, now let's set animator float, speed, magnitude. I won't worry about damp time. Alright, so camera, and I will just stick the camera here. I'm just gonna child the camera. I'm not worried about anything else. So I mean, the player wise, he's gonna look kind of messed up, right? Okay, but he's moving. That's the important part. The other thing this thing needs is to turn this off because I can feel it fighting. Alright, so turn that off. And bring that down there. Smooth look at. Alright, so let's put that to self. Pull this camera out though because it's going to drive me nuts. And take this, I can just ram that up. Okay guys, bedtime please. Alright, so we need now footsteps. So the easiest way to do this is I'm going to go walk forward loop, that guy right there, go to the events, and we're just going to add some events based on our foot's actually stepping. And now that we have those, of course it'll take a minute because it's a big list to re-import or whatever. And obviously this is the third person version. So we need a way to catch those events, and we called it step. So there is step. So normally audio source, you would simply just, choose a footstep. Something like that. But we want to change it based on what we're walking on too. So let's do that. First of all, let's make some arrays. Grass steps, type audio, stick that over there. Let's see what we even have in here actually. Okay, let's make another array. Rock steps, type audio. And let's make a third one. Grass, rock, mud steps. Type audio. So here we have I think I'll use these ones here for the rock. Don't start fighting. Let's use some of those for the grass. Use a rocky ground for the mud. Alright, so we have 3 arrays of different sounds. So down here, we're going to do a play of the step. So here, all we want to do is raycast, and depending where your anchor point is, you may want to make a marker. Whoops. Raycast 2, a little better. From position, this should be an offset. At world 3, world position. No. So let's get position, because we're going to need it anyways. Normally I would do this one, but I think I'm just going to do the operator. Actually, you know what? Maybe I will just do the add. Let's add 0.5. So now we can raycast from player's position. Base world, direction down. Distance 1's probably fine. We have hit point. That's really all we need for our step. There is another wonderful little action on the ecosystem. If I do not have it here, Oh, I do have get terrain texture. Get terrain texture name. Super simple. So the terrain and texture, and then I am going to string switch texture. We have 3, we have grass, we have mud, and we have rock. And all we're going to do is array get random grass steps, store the value into step, and play it. Right? I can just copy this. Only this one's going to be mud steps. This one's going to be rock steps. Pretty cool, huh? Working pretty good. So, as an added bonus, because we did the ray, so this portion of it, with this guy here, doesn't use the ray. So technically all this isn't needed, but we like it. So what we're going to do is create. You'd be better off doing a pooling system for this. But let's take a look. Where did I put our stuff? So let's create 2 variables. Left foot, right foot. Stuff them in there. So we're going to create a footstep mark at hit point, and you know what we can do, look rotation, let's take the from the raycast. Hit normal, take the hit normal, vector up, result is rotation, not every frame, and let's set rotation of the created to rotation. So now we're thinking, okay, well, what is footstep mark? And what that's going to be is one more little step here. Put all these going through here, and we're going to do sequence. There we go. And I'm just going to go 1 and 2. All right, and 1, 2. And then we're going to go over here and we're going to set game object, footstep mark, left foot. And copy and paste. And right foot. So we're literally just alternating. Why does our right foot not have a variable? It does here. It does now. Okay, well, whatever. Oh, okay, yeah, we need to do one more little thing with that. So the other thing we need is I'm going to just take the player's rotation, the Y, and we are going to set rotation. I'm going to do it after this though, because this one's technically curving to the terrain, which is fine. But then let's copy the player's Y. Oh, we have an issue. All right, let's ignore this one for now. That actually doesn't look too bad. Sitting a little too close on the terrain though. But it actually looked pretty good. So let's keep that. And let's just add a tiny bit right at the top here, prior to the creation, to the hip point. Let's add just like 0.05 on the Y. All right, well there's that. And that's how you you do it there. Now, that doesn't work if you have something like this. Right, because now we have it's still running the grass, right? And we may not want that. So this way you can do tags, you can do all kinds of different things. One of the ways that you can also do like just an FSM and have each object have its own sound. But one of the ways I like to do it is I create a physics material. We'll call this one wood. And we'll pretend like this is a wood thing. Alright, so we know that pretty much this whole system here is based on terrain. And we don't necessarily want that. So I'm going to move that stuff over here. Get rid of that. This is the head of our terrain system. So how can we tell if we're on the terrain? Alright, let's just come down here. Use this one to collect all our data. And then we can do this by tag. Yeah, maybe we'll do, our terrain has a name called terrain. So let's do this. So you can do this so many different ways. You can get actually really creative with this. So what we hit, what we hit name. What we hit name. So if name is terrain, if that's equal, do terrain logic. But if it's not equal, do mesh logic. Alright. So like I said, this is more of just terrain textures. So we need mesh. So one of the things I like to do is on the thing we hit, we shouldn't need that. We can just call that texture. And actually, you know what? We could probably just put that straight over here and add onto here. Oh no, we can't, because that's using texture. So what could we do? You know what? Let's do this. Why not? Do terrain. And then this one can do this. I'll just use that. I don't have more. Well, I probably do, but right. So here we're getting the physical name, and we're going to store it in a texture. If we're doing terrain, we're going to get the texture from the terrain stored in the texture. So they're both going to use the same variable. There we go. And if we open this up, oh, what do we have here? His raycast. Whoops. My raycast is on a system that keep raycasting. Right, so it's going to the terrain. It's going through the mesh. So it's getting wood instance. Let's trim name. Wood instance. It's not trimming the name very well, is it? Alright, so let's fix that. First of all, repeat. We don't want repeats. That is supposed to do. Maybe I'm supposed to have that. I don't know. Well, let's see if I have it playing with this turned on from the start. Maybe that will happen to change it. No, it still has instance. That trim isn't doing jack frick all. So well, you know what? Since we're expecting it, we don't have it on our terrain. Let's just put it over here. Alright, so there is, obviously these things need slight alteration. A, they don't need colliders. B, after the created sets its rotation, I think that's when we want to use the look. Hit normal. And let's just go down here and grab this again. No, that one's just not liking that. Oh, you know what? They are sticking upwards. Ah, okay, so if we did that, note to self, this is why you scale everything the same. Let's just see if that changes the left foot. It does, but I still do not like it. There's something weird about that. Unless we do possibly that. No. No, that is not doing anything for us. Alright, so they hit normal, but then we're also altering that Y. Like we almost just want to do a local X. Nah, you know what? I don't think I'm going to worry about it. I don't think it's that important to worry about it right now. Yeah, it's kind of more of a bonus thing anyways. So we have the sound changing on the mesh, the sound changing on the texture terrain, and that's third person. So when you look at the idea of first person, you know, if you have another model that you plan on running, because maybe it's multiplayer or the person, or you want self-awareness, then you could still get away with this almost the same thing, because really at that point in time all you're doing is moving the camera in, right? More or less that's pretty much all you're doing if you want the self-awareness kind of idea where you can look down and see your own feet and stuff. So we're still running off that same animation events. If you don't have those animation events though, like for example, let's get rid of him. You know, turn that animator off. So we'll pretend like we don't have it, right? Because now we just have this thing. Perfect. All right, so for third person, very important where you put the camera, right? Because this would be right. Because with your camera, if you animate with your camera, which personally I like to do, you can still base it off of that. Or animator. And we create a new animator. And we just stuff this in here. And then we turn around and give it an animation, right? So we have, you know, idle. And, you know, it might have virtually nothing. Now let's put that 0. You know, and then maybe by, I don't know, over here it's like up by 0.05, and down over here it's back down to 0. Whatever. And then maybe we have a walk. And walking, maybe we're at 0, and by 10, let's just go up by 0.1. That's pretty aggressive. You know, 0.1. Okay, where do we start at? 0.1, 0.1, and then the next one would be 0. All right, like that. And then here, you would literally do the same thing, right? We could literally just go, should almost have it on the down, but whatever. We'll do it backwards. No biggie. So this thing needs an FSM. In fact, let's just copy this guy right over. Obviously add an audio source. This guy here we're going to turn off. And this guy here, where are we? Let's go to the walking. So we have here send event right there. Same idea, exact same thing, right? All right, so now the only difference is when is in this guy's animator, you know, we'd have, say for example, that same thing. Speed, go back and forth, it's exactly the same setup as before. And then from up here, we'll grab our this guy is now going here under speed. And if we watch this thing, literally pretty much the same thing. Works pretty damn good. The other thing we could do is say we have this logic. Let's maintain this logic, and instead of running it off of animation events, like what if we didn't have those? The other method, not quite as good, I don't think, is let's run something here, footstep sound. So if you don't have animation events, we also have get FSM vector 3. Let's steal our own vector from this guy, the V, every frame, and length. So now we can check the length, every frame. And float compare. So if length is greater than 0.25, whoops, start sound. Only let's do that. Let's copy this guy right over. So we want the same thing, only now this is going to be if it's less, stop. Get rid of that one, right? So in here we could now just be the best way to do this. We could just do, we can do weights. You could also do countdown timer. No, even just float adds, right? I mean, you could also break this up and have numerous states here, or take the length and multiply this as well, right? Like we could have, for example, float multiply. So if we got full length, no, you'd have to remap it. Nah, okay, you know what? I'm not that worried about it. Let's go 0.3-ish. And then send to sound. I like next frame events, so they make me feel better about myself. And let's go send event to this game object, footsteps step. So now all the logic's coming from up here, not from the animation itself. So if we start moving, this runs a timer, and we have, so it's all timer based, right? The actual sound logic and all that's the same. We haven't changed that at all. We're just triggering it differently. Right, and it looks fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Right, so there's a couple different ways there, right? So this is purely based on we're actually physically moving because we have we think we're moving because we have a we're getting it from here, and we're just checking that. And if we're not moving, we're idle. If we are moving, then okay, well, let's fire this off X amount of time after, and you can adjust this. And if you want, you can make this a variable. And then, okay, well, if we're sprinting, cut this in half. If you're walking, set it in, if you're walking, maybe go 0.4. Well, actually, you'd have something like that, right? And then if you're walking, it'd be like 0.4. And if you're sprinting from up here, maybe you have a button here or somewhere else. If you're sprinting or running, you set this value to 0.2. If you're not, you're running it at 0.4. And now it goes up and down based on your speed, right? So yeah, there's numerous ways to do it, for sure. But there you have it, footsteps.